I'm Dustin. Welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. Heading into week 7. This is your waiver wire show. Before we get into it, if you remember from last week, we had you vote on who should get the t-shirt from a couple weeks before. Charles Lamb was the big winner in the voting. We'll get in touch with you. We'll send you your very own Smack Talk shirt. Get on to thirdnow.com if you want to check out some Smack Talk shirts and some other shirts that they got on there, like this one right here. But let's talk about must-adds in all leagues. Decent amount at the running back position this week, in my opinion. Chris Ivory, I think it's time this guy needs to get picked back up. I know he's been a disappointment to this point, but he's only on 45% of leagues. I think it needs to be higher than that. I think he's a better fit for early down work than Yeldon. I think he will take over. He's going to get the goal line work. He found the end zone week 6. So I think Chris Ivory needs to be picked up in more leagues. James White, same deal. I mean, here's the thing. Deion Lewis is going to be back at some point this year, but we saw what they did with Gronk with the Patriots. They really eased him in. I think they're going to do the same thing with Lewis to just make sure he's going to be there for the playoffs. So you might get another month or so out of White. You might as well ride it out while you can. He's going to have value even in standard leagues just because whoever fills that role for the Patriots finds a way to get in the end zone. I mean, Lewis did it pretty well last year. James White's doing it already, finding the end zone. So not even in PPR leagues, I think even in standard leagues, White has value. Devontae Booker, I think, needs to be owned in all leagues. If you own CJ Anderson, you need to own Booker. And CJ Anderson owners, I wouldn't be worried too much, but I would be starting to worry a little bit just in terms of Booker really kind of making this closer to a 50-50 split. I mean, CJ would have had a huge week 6, if it wasn't for penalties with stuff getting called back. I still think CJ is by far the guy to own right now, but Booker's such a high upside handcuff. I think you need to own him on your bench if you own CJ Anderson. Just because, and Booker will have some week-to-week flex appeal if you get into a bind. So I like that too as well. Even if you don't own Anderson, I think Booker should be owned on someone's bench just as a high upside guy. Jay Ajayi, I mean, who saw that coming? I mean, that was pretty ridiculous. He has looked better this year than he did last year, but what he did week 6 was just nuts, going for over 200 yards. I do think he's worth picking up. Obviously, at this point, I mean, even in all leagues, he's owned about 35% of leagues right now. But with Foster coming back, it could just turn into a mess. But how long will Foster even stay healthy? So if Ajayi, after that performance, Ajayi needs to be getting the fantasy world's respect a little bit. Pick him up and just see what happens. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to confidently start him with Foster still in the mix. But for now, he needs to be owned in more leagues. Got to talk about my boy Dwayne Washington. It's still a mess out there with Detroit, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Out of all their running backs, even with throwing Justin Forsett into the mix, Washington has the potential of being the best overall running back. So for that reason, I think he should be owned, especially in deeper leagues. I mean, maybe not necessarily all leagues with him. He's only owning 15% right now, but he's a great guy to take a gamble on. You know, they brought in Forsett. He didn't look that great. Zenner had a moment or two week 6, but I don't think he's the answer. Riddick, we'll see what happens with his injury, how serious it is, but I still think Washington's gonna get a chance to take that job, and he might just take it and run with it. Gillislee's the last running back I want to talk about. McCoy owners avoided a scare. I mean, it looked like McCoy could be looking at multi-week, potentially season-ending injury week 6, but he bounced back. Not only was it not a serious injury, he came back in the game and continued to go nuts. So huge sigh of relief for McCoy owners, but there's a chance that he is pretty sore this week. So I think you need to pick up Gillislee. He'll probably play this week, but a lot of times players will come back in the game and then 2 days later, they're really paying the price. So Gillislee is, again, one of the highest upside handcuffs out there. If you own McCoy, you should probably own Gillislee at this point just for some security. Wide receiver, Cameron Meredith. I talked about him last week. I said I wanted to see one more week. We saw one more week. This kid could be legit. Still only on about 55% of leagues. At this point, you're picking him up in all leagues. Decent matchup this week going up Thursday night against the Packers. So Cameron Meredith, pick him up. Cole Beasley, he's right on the cusp of needing to be owned in all leagues. The only reason I don't think he is absolutely all leagues is just because once Dez comes back, he might lose a couple targets. But the biggest knock on Beasley has been, okay, he's a PPR guy if he doesn't find the end zone. But he's finding the end zone now. So I think Cole Beasley, right on the border of must-add in all leagues or deeper leagues, but either way, he needs to be owned in more leagues than he is. Ty Montgomery is interesting to me, only owned in 5% of leagues. Packers are on a short week. Eddie Lacy's banged up. If Eddie Lacy ends up not being able to play or is just limited in playing, the Packers put Ty Montgomery in the backfield and were basically just kind of doing these little passes that were, kind of an extension of the run game, and I think they could do that again, week 7 because Starks is going to be out. So, if Lacy, again, if he's out or limited, Montgomery could definitely have a bigger role. It seemed like it was going to be Cobb that was going to fit that kind of role for the Packers, but it ended up being Montgomery, so that's kind of interesting. And one quick thing too, this is just a portion of the list, or if you want to see the write-up that I do on these, click on the link in the description, and you can check out all the write-ups with all the names and everyone on there. One other receiver I wanted to talk about, Torrey Smith, only owned in about 25% of leagues. He was drafted in almost 100. But this is what I was saying last week about Curley. I thought Curley was worth picking up, but when you have a quarterback change, sometimes it changes who the receivers are that have value. And that is what kind of happened with out there with the 49ers. Torrey Smith has best game of the season so far, and he might get put on the map with Kaepernick back in there. Although I did want to talk about one other receiver, Kenny Britt. The guy is on fire this year. He's on pace for, I think, 1,300 yards. He's not getting any respect. I mean, and I get it. He's only on 10% of leagues. He's on the Rams. You're not necessarily excited about that. He's been around for a while. We've all seen what Kenny Britt can do, but the Rams are starting to get that offense going. They got Gurley. Keenum has looked decent. It's time. I'm not calling Britt a must-add in all leagues just because I don't think the touchdown potential will be huge for him, but if you look at his yards, he was getting a decent chunk each week, so I want to say Kenny Britt needs our respect, but at the same time, I'm remembering how mediocre he's been throughout his entire career. But Kenny Britt, definitely someone to look at. Deeper leagues, you got to be picking this guy up. Maybe one more good game, and I'll call him must-add in all leagues, but I'm still just not totally buying that Rams passing game just yet. Tight end, or go to quarterback real quick. Pick up and play. I like Brian Hoyer. If you're one of the people that had Big Ben go down, or you're just looking for a quarterback this week, I like Hoyer. They're a short week, going up against the Packers, but Packers D, you've been able to throw the ball against them, so I don't mind Brian Hoyer this week. He's looked really good. Tight end, Ladarius Green, don't forget about him. He's able to come back week 7. We'll see if he does. The injury stuff on him has been weird throughout, all the way going back to the preseason, whether it was concussions or his ankle or whatever. We'll see what happens. If he does come back, obviously it hurts Jesse James, but until we get some solid reports that he is definitely coming back, I wouldn't do anything crazy to get him on your team, but you do need to start thinking about Ladarius Green. Then Hunter Henry, I'm a believer now. I wanted to see him play alongside of Gates and make sure that he was still going to be targeted. He looks good. Hunter Henry, only on about 35% of leagues. Pick him up. And my pick up and play defense is going to be Cincinnati. They're at home going up against Cleveland. I know I've been kind of picking on Cleveland a little bit for my pick up and play defenses, and Cleveland's been pretty decent with some of them, but I like Cincinnati at home against Cleveland. I think that's a pretty safe play. I mean, Cleveland still does lack overall weapons on that offense. So, again, if you want to see the full list and see the write-up, click on the link in the description. We'll be back later in the week with more videos, and good luck on the wire.